Welcome back to the WCS Season 1 Finals here in Seoul, South Korea. I am Monte Cristo, and joining me as always is Doa.
And look at who we have here. It's Damaga. That's right, our final foreign player left in the WCS Finals. He's going up against Samsung Consroro, a very scary ZVZ. But you know what? If anyone is up to the challenge, Damaga certainly is. This is the guy that handed Nest-T his first ever ZVZ loss on television. So, I mean, he has a history of taking out really good Zergs in the past. I mean, it's a different game. It's a different expansion. It's 2 years removed. But I feel like we have to put our hopes in Damaga if we're part of the, foreign fan community. But Roro, really good too. I mean, you can't deny that this guy is one of the best Zergs out there.
Well, I mean, he did win a GSL.
Absolutely,
so
yeah.
That's not something that many Zergs can say.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a tough group.
Actually, it is something many Zergs can say now.
To be fair, I know we've had a lot of Zerg GSL winners, but
yeah, it's not a thing a lot of Protoss can say. Maybe I guess you could say, but Roro's good. That's the point we're trying to make. Roro's very good. So is Damaga. They're going to go to see who's going to face Innovation in the winners match. Basically, whoever wins this will face Innovation. It's going to be interesting. Innovation. Actually kind of destroying Revival a bit. Revival, you made it look competitive. It wasn't totally one-sided, but it was definitely convincing. I'll put it that way, yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And I think we're ready to move into our first game, guys. It's going to be on Belshir Vestige LE.
And there we go, Rockats Damaga.
Yeah, just got sponsored. 1-year deal with them, so congratulations to Damaga. And versus Zerg, that's right. Yet another Zerg that we have not seen any ZVZs out of WCS from.
You know, it's really surprising with the number of Zergs, 8 of them out of 16 players in the WCS season finals here.
Yeah.
And yet a lot of these Zergs have managed to make it through their entire regional WCS competitions without ever hitting that ZVZ matchup.
Well, Europe was kind of interesting a little bit. There weren't as many Zergs in that region by a little bit. And also the Zergs that were together in groups seemed to kind of miss each other. So it all just kind of worked out to where we really haven't seen Damaga's ZVZ for a while. So kind of interesting. We'll gather some stats today, no doubt about that.
And then on the other side, we do have Samsung Consroro.
Yep.
Warming up his hands there with a little hot pack.
That's right. They've got the air conditioners running in the booth, so you want those hands toasty warm to make sure they move the fastest.
And there we go, his ZVZ. Not a large sample size, but 2-0 at 100%.
Well, if you're going to only have 2 games played in a matchup, for the statistics, you really want those to be wins. That is nice. Any other alternative is only 50% or 0%, so it's not as good. 100% is good.
Yeah, it's worth noting, though, Roro may be looking for a little revenge in this group. He did kind of get rocked by Innovation.
He did, yeah. There's a bit of a grudge match going on there, and he would love to knock out the player that knocked him out of the running for last season's WCS Korea.
And Roro tried to play those long macro games against Innovation, too.
Yeah.
And so he was kind of the last Zerg player that really attempted that feat over several games in a row. But
yep.
Damaga, this guy has been doing really well recently, so he has to get through him first. And
yep.
Damaga's roach play has been pretty solid.
Certainly has. We'll see if he can bring it through to some ZVZ success. The players are ready. The countdown has begun. Game 1, Roro versus Damaga on Belshir Vestige. It's nearly time.
And there we go, loading up right now. Damaga is ready as the last foreigner still alive at the season championship. And here we go. Damaga from Roccat, the Blue Zerg on Belshir Vestige, starting up at that 10 o'clock position.
Yep.
And also, let's see here.
Oh, they brought us coffee. Oh. If I was C-3PO, I would say thank the maker at this point. Although I don't really want an oil bath. That's just weird.
Well, we do have the red Zerg, and that'll be Samsung Cons Roro.
That's right.
At 4 o'clock.
Roro.
So no early shenanigans, at least. We can cross that one right out.
That is correct. Yes. Yes, indeed. So, ZVZ, a matchup where you do need to watch the first few minutes very carefully a lot of times. see if there's anything kind of coming out. But Belshir Vestige is a lot of times a map where we do see both players go for that hatchery first. But honestly, it's such a mix right now. I mean, there's been different times in the metagame in Korea here where it's been all hatch first, all pool first, and now it's kind of settled into this sort of rhythm of diversity, I guess you could say, where everyone's doing kind of what they feel like, and it all sort of ends up being pretty good. So it looks like it will be a hatch first from Damaga at least, and hatch first from RO too, yeah. So I mean, kind of going with the trend on this particular map, a lot of hatch firsts.
And that'll be at least a slower start this time around. I'm looking forward. I haven't seen that 6 pool that I really want to see, Doa.
I don't know, man. It's something you see every once in a while, but generally it's like a once-a-tournament thing if you're lucky, you know?
Oh, I'm aware.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't mean I don't want it.
I can appreciate that. We can't always get what we want, but if we try sometimes, we just might find we get what we need.
Well, what I need is a good Group D tonight, and I know I'm going to be getting that. So.
I think it's already good, man. Innovation showing some good play, and this CVZ should be good as well. So it was gas before pool for Roro. Damaga getting his pool before gas. So tiny, tiny little difference. A wild guess at what that means. Can you do that for us? What do you think?
I mean, just faster speed.
Exactly.
That's about it. That's just all we can say right now, really.
A little bit faster Zergling speed for Roro. But in the grand scheme of things, not too important. But you know, we'll see what these guys decide to do. I mean, it all kind of depends on, you know, when the Baneling nest goes down for each player, really. And a lot of ZVZ these days, we aren't seeing really a lot of passive Baneling openings. I mean, everybody gets the Baneling nest. If you don't get the Baneling nest, you're going to be really taking a big risk. I mean, just going back through the history of Starcraft 2 and ZVZ, Nest T was really one of the only Zergs that ever got away with not making that Baneling nest, and he only got away with it for a short time, honestly, until people figured out good ways to punish it. So you kind of generally need that Baneling nest, but lately it really feels like everybody's been being very aggressive with it. They haven't been defensive with it and going into like that roach play we saw before, and a lot of that is just because of mutas. Mutas are so good right now. And there's the Baneling nest for Roro. So a little bit earlier than for Damaga, again, just because of that earlier gas.
But as you can see, Damaga is well aware of the existence of this Baneling nest, and there he goes, getting one of his own to match it up. And realistically, by the time that Roro would get those Banelings over across the map anyway, Damaga would be morphing his own.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it looks like Roro is going to be aggressive. Damaga staying on the defensive style here, getting the spine crawler, getting more drones, and just a few links. So as I was talking about it, now we're going to see it. A defensive Baneling opening from Damaga. He is a player that likes to kind of go into a little bit heavier tech. He likes to macro. He's always been very good at doing a lot of all-ins, and he's very creative with it too, but he does really like to play the macro game, I feel like, overall, especially in a match like ZVT. But in ZVZ, man, all bets are off. You just kind of have to go with the flow in that matchup.
So Damaga, here we go. Banelings morphing. They're heading over into Damaga's base. What will be the answer right here? He's going to slip past the spine crawler. And can he get up the ramp? He's trying to block with one of the queens right now. He gets 2 up. Roro slipping him into the line.
No. Oh, Damaga.
Oh, he loses a huge number of drones.
Yeah, loses a couple there. Chasing on some of those lings, and I mean, honestly, the drone count's still fairly close because Damaga made drones while Roro made Zerglings. So even after losing, I think maybe lost like 3 or 4 there, it's still dead even. Both players getting their lair at the exact same time. This is going to be one of those Muta versus Muta games, man. I've got a feeling.
Well, you can see also Damaga going for another big round of drones, whereas Roro kept pumping Zerglings there for just a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So Damaga just going purely defensive right now. And he's caught up again in drones, so all is not lost.
Oh, no. No, he's perfectly fine right now. Roro's going to continue to probably put a little bit of pressure on him, it looks like, but it all kind of depends on how this middle game shakes out. I mean, at this point, what each player wants to do is try to cause each other to have to make a lot of things that are not drones, to try to cut the amount of gas they're able to mine, reduce the amount of mutas that they're probably going to make. I might be jumping ahead of myself a little bit, but right now in ZVZ, when you see this, it's nearly always Muta versus Muta.
Yeah, actually, Roro falling a bit behind in terms of his drone count right now. as our observer was showing us.
Well, he's made a lot of Zerglings. You know, he's wanted to put that pressure on. Spire, though, started at the exact same time. Both of these players have about the same amount of gas saved up as well. So it really is now about how much these players are going to be spending on those extra things, like a few extra drones, overlords, lings to stay alive. That's going to really have an impact on the amount of Mutalisks that come out.
And Damaga about to scout out his opponent's fire as well, so it'll be very clear. Ooh, loses a lot of lings.
Yeah, it takes a hit there. And that's going to make it maybe a little bit tougher for him to keep his third. And that's going to be a situation now. Okay, he does have enough lings, it looks like. He needs to be careful, though, because if he loses his forest, he's going to need to spend money on lings. He's already doing that. And again, it's all about saving up for the mutas right now. And that third
gets canceled.
Yep, needs to be canceled at the last moment. So Roro pulling a little bit of an edge in getting that third base up. But none of that matters if you can win the Mutalisk fight.
But we're looking at even banks right now, even gas. The mineral's the limiting factor for Roro, so he's going to be able to get out less initially. So we'll have to see what Damaga can do with those few extra mutas thanks to those minerals.
8 mutas on the way for Damaga and that +1 carapace. +1 carapace being taken right now by Roro as well. They know that's what you need to get in muta versus muta. First out, identical. This game is so close, but the big difference is that Roro has his third, Damaga does not, and that could be game-changing right there.
Yeah, it all depends on how it's handled. 2 gases going up, and that third base is now operational.
That's so huge that Roro has access to those extra 2 gases. That is going to make a big, big difference in the amount of mutas that come out, the amount of upgrades that come out. I'm worried about Damaga.
Yeah, I think that's probably a pretty reasonable concern, Doa.
Yeah, I think so as well.
And Damaga not really doing anything right now, simply having his Mutalisks in his base. You know, Damaga really has to focus on getting this third up.
Well, he really knows, too, that his opponent's going for the same thing. If he moves across the map, he gives him the defender's advantage. You don't want to attack with mutas unless you know you can win. When you fight muta versus muta, you want to be the defender. And here's some lings mixing up in the middle of the map. Now, another thing as well, another integral part of muta versus muta is that you need to have those Zerglings with the army to soak up those glaive bounces. Overlords help as well. Roro, with some questionable rallying, gives Damaga a couple free Overlords, and there's a supply block in favor of Damaga.
Yeah, having to make 3 Overlords right now. He's starting to make some of these spine crawlers as well, just to defend against any kind of Zergling pressure that might be coming his way. Damaga, you can see his third finally up, but that third has been operational for Roro for quite some time. A big difference, especially in terms of that gas right now between our 2 Zergs.
That thing's fully operational.
That's right.
It's true.
It may be a trap. We'll see.
It's a trap. He has to fly towards the Mutalisks. Yeah, and Link's coming into the natural for Damaga. No, they're going to go right into the main. Damaga scrambling to try to handle this. He's going to lose his queen.
And 1 queen going down before the Zerglings of Damaga can get there, but now the Mutalisk cleanup may be beginning. Damaga's got to be careful.
I don't know if this is enough for Damaga.
Now. Everybody has the same amount of upgrades, but it looks like Roro may just have more mutas. It's a little hard to tell.
Damaga, there's the reinforcements for Roro. Damaga needs to run away. And now, one little key part of how Damaga kind of survived a little bit longer is that Roro target fired longer than he really needed to. He wasted some glaive attacks with some of those mutas.
Nearly 50 Zerglings coming out from Roro right now, so he's looking to actually finish off his opponent right here, going for 2 carapaces as opposed to Damaga going for 1 air weapon.
Yeah, now Damaga trying to draw his opponent away. He does it, but it costs him some Zerglings. He's going for +1 attack, whereas we have +2 carapace going down now for Roro. So in the end, it's gonna kind of more or less equal out to Roro's mutas being a little bit stronger, because +2 carapace is gonna equal basically the equivalent of +1 carapace versus +0 attack, kind of. It's very weird. The math is a little bit different than that, but you can kind of think of it that way in a basic sense.
Well, Roro looking for an advantage right now. He finds him with his enormous number of Zerglings, and he gets into the third of Damaga, and it looks like he's going to pick off a few stray Mutalisks right there as well. So 24 mutas for Roro to 19 of Damaga right now. He's going to get that third base one more time.
Damaga not attacking with all his mutas. He's Oh, he's going farther and farther behind.
Oh, this is
half the mutas. And we're going to see a GG from Damaga. He just can't handle it. There it is. GG. And Roro taking game one. But really, by the slimmest of margins, it's all about that denial that he got on Damaga's third base. We could have seen a very different game if that hadn't happened.
Absolutely. Well, there is your victor right there. Samsung Khan's Roro.
Yeah.
And Damaga, pursed lips.
Yep.
A bit annoyed.
Well, that's the frustration with ZVZ, is it really is the tiniest things that end up determining the game, and you just cannot slip up at all. And I mean, Roro, he won his GSL in ZVZ.
Yes.
So this is not a guy who's new to the matchup, who's bad at the matchup. He's obviously transitioned well to Heart of the Swarm. Game number 2 coming up on Neoplanet S.
So a bit of a shake-up this time.
Yeah.
And that was the first ZVZ that we've seen go full-bore Mutalist today, Noah.
Yeah, we've been seeing it a little bit less often just because of the Spore Crawler buffs, but also because I think Zergs are kind of trying to experiment a little bit more with various things, and they've gotten very, very good at certain Ling-Baneling attacks and all-ins. So we've been seeing the mutas a bit less, but if it gets to that point in the game, yeah, generally muta versus muta. And that's what we saw. So game number 2 is loading up right now. Can Damaga tie it up? Or is he going to go on to face Revival in the losers match? We'll find out.
And here we go. Welcome to our second match. Game number 2. Roro up 1-0 on Damaga. And the blue Zerg will be Damaga.
I love the Damaga slouch. Like whenever he's a little bit behind, or even sometimes when he's just starting, he's got the Damaga slouch. You know, he just kind of leans back a little bit. He's like, oh, great. Here we go again.
Meanwhile, upright Roro,
That's
your
right.
red Zerg this game.
You know what? The Damaga slouch is like the winning slouch, though.
It's the slouch of champions.
That's when he lets go of like all earthly concerns and just becomes one with the swarm.
I'd like to reach Zerg Enlightenment.
That's right. Total Zerg Enlightenment. Roro still adherent to the extractor trick, I see.
Well, you know how those
Interesting.
Kespa Zergs roll.
A lot of them do, yeah. How they roll.
Roll.
All right, so no super early pools or anything like that. And I mean, on a bigger map like Neoplanet S, you almost kind of expect to see hatch first out of both of these guys. And I think we're probably in for that, but we will see.
Well, I think it's gonna be a while before we see anything this game, though.
It's, you know, it's a little bit bigger map, and I mean, it's hard to get roaches across if you do things very aggressively, and you know, it's a little bit even challenging, honestly, to get kind of the slowling, baneling sort of pressure across the map too. But yeah, hatch first both of these guys. So we've got a little bit of time here before things really kind of get rolling.
And you know, I have to say, I've really been enjoying the ZVZs, the variety that we've seen so far today in this matchup.
It's such a frustrating matchup at the pro level if you talk to these guys. You know, I mean, you can see why. It's very unforgiving. There's various reasons for it, but man, like as a non-pro player, I love playing ZVZ. I don't know, it's just fun.
It is really fun.
But if I was a pro gamer, I would hate it. I know that.
I have to say, I think my favorite ZVZ so far that we've casted today was the first game of TLO versus Stefano. I really liked the Ling pressure that happened. And
very back and forth.
Very back and forth. If you guys have a chance, check out the VOD of that one.
Oh, yeah.
Certainly worth your time.
Definitely do that. And so we've got, you know, again, fairly similar builds to what we saw last time. Gas being taken again, just slightly faster for Roro. Damaga just opting for a little bit stronger of an economy. Few extra drones, but no big difference otherwise. Slightly quicker queen, too, as well, just the way the minerals generally work out with that.
Well, it's all about those drones at this point. All about those queens as well.
Yeah.
And remember, we do have another stream, guys, as I'm sure many of you know, but check out Day 9 and Apollo on the main stream. They are doing a different group than Doa and myself.
Yep, they're doing Group C. Currently, they are in the winner's match, it looks like, in 4GG, up 1-0 over SOS.
Oh, that's not something I would have expected.
Yeah? Really?
Yeah, 4GG doing quite well today.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great player. He's a great Terran. And he's definitely got that sort of Brood War pedigree as well. So SOS maybe not quite finding that creative groove that we saw him sort of get into in WCS Korea Season 1 here. Oh, and a Roach Warren from Roro. Okay.
So Roaches versus
right.
Banelings this time. Now it's going to start getting interesting.
Yeah, and a fairly slow Zergling speed for Damaga as well. So if this is a really quick Roach push coming out of Roro, Damaga may have a bit of a challenge because you can beat Roach with Ling Baneling, but you need a lot of Zerglings and you need to have the speed to get that surround on them, and that can be a bit challenging. So we'll see what Roro's got in mind with this. He finished up that Roach Warren, and how many will he make? Got Banelings on the way for Damaga, but he's going to need more than that to handle the Roaches.
Right, and that speed about to pop for Roro, and here we go. Zergling speed right now.
Okay, kicking in the nos.
That's right, so these Zerglings got to get a good view of the base, perhaps. Well, no, they're going to get fended off by Damaga.
Well, part of this is just distracting Damaga too. I mean, the more Damaga's kind of worrying about that kind of thing, the less he's going to be